What is up, guys? Welcome on back to the news with TK, and giving you guys an update on the Charlie Kirk situation. His Vice President JD Vance was present, did help carry his casket or escort the casket to Air Force Two. Air Force Two has now landed in Phoenix and has got a full color guard and police escort. And they're taking him to where will be, I'm sure, his final resting place. I'm sure they're going to take him to a funeral home or something like that first. We do have some other breaking news, which I'm going to drop in here in a minute, which shows the shooter before the shooting clearly walking with a pronounced limp because he probably had that gun down his pants leg, 30-06. And they're actively looking for him now. There was supposed to be a press conference this afternoon that was delayed. I'm going to drop both of those clips here in a minute. Right after this, we'll start with the JD Vance clip, and then we'll get into the breaking news right now.
Under his shirt. Let's bring in former ATF Special Agent in Charge, Bernard Zapor, and former Secret Service Agent Tim Miller. Bernard, you worked for the ATF. That hobbling, we presume, is because he has that weapon beneath his clothing.
That's a possibility. Also a possibility he was injured escaping from the roof. And there's a number of ways of concealing a firearm. If he was going to the woods where they ultimately found it, it's very possible he was carrying it on his person.
And Bernard, I just want to note this footage. This footage was from before, so I do want to make that note.
Okay, yeah. Just saying that at both scenes, the treasure trove of evidence is pretty spectacular. It was worked on all night, including the video. All the video was used with AI enhancing that got them a great opportunity for some of this. And of course, he wore the worst possible shirt, which is a black shirt with a white square on it. And it's making it easier for them to identify him as their current suspect.
Tim, and that's a question I have. Look, we're looking at this. We don't know if he has that 30-06 under his clothing or not, but he is hobbling, and it does raise that question. But I was wondering that as well. Why wear that shirt? I understand it might have been an effort to blend in with the crowd, a political T-shirt at a political event, but it does allow you to track who sells this T-shirt, who bought this T-shirt, was it on Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Kaylee. But remember that this individual had a careful plan that he was going to execute. He wanted to fit in. It looks similar to, if you flash back to the assassination attempt on President Trump, to what Crooks did. There was unusual behavior before the event. And unfortunately, nobody picked up on it. To your point, though, as you look at his behavior, it should cause people to pay attention, but they didn't. And unfortunately, he did the same method that we saw Crooks. He had obviously seen the event before he accessed the roof, and then he was able to deliver a fatal shot, which unfortunately, Charlie only had close-in protection. That doesn't prevent a person with a rifle from shooting, and in this case, killing him.
Bernard, that video again, before the shooting, 11:49 a.m. He arrives on campus at 11:52 a.m. The shooting takes place 6 minutes later. You analogized this to the Boston Marathon bombing, where it took video surveillance evidence like what we are looking at to find Tsarnaev. It took about 5 days, but they did end up finding the killer.
Yes. You have to understand that the entire night, everything that was collected, all the security footage from the university, all the footage that was being provided by the citizens and the public, and what they were gathering in the neighborhoods, all of that is going through a very intense analysis, and they're coming up with certainties and basically tying together movements in a map and giving them a very strong thing that ties back to the other evidence that was found both in the woods and probably at what they believe was the point of origin for the shooting. So it's a tremendous amount of information. They're very strong on this suspect. I'm confident they're gonna get this person soon, and there's lots of follow-up. Obviously, one of the biggest things too is what is happening to him in terms of identification, everybody associated with him, and are there more heads to this dragon than this one individual who was hobbling down the street on the way to kill Charlie Kirk?
Tim, we have this footage. I presume that authorities have more than what they're telling us. But it was 5 days to find the Boston bomber. It was also 5 days to find Luigi Mangione, who killed Brian Thompson, the healthcare executive. To the layman, it feels like it's been 24 hours. This could be a needle in a haystack. He could have escaped. But we do have previous crimes where we do find the killer. It just takes a few days.
No, you're spot on, Kaylee. And let me be clear, too. There's a lot of evidence being collected, even as we speak. They're going to run every lead. I don't think it's going to be too terribly long before we catch this person. I do think at the end of the day that him making fundamental mistakes, like leaving a rifle behind, palm prints, all that just makes it much easier to track him. My heart just breaks, though, because this is the new world order now, where Americans have to think about their security at a whole new level. As a Marine, you deploy to protect Americans' First Amendment rights in other countries. Now we have to stand up and protect them here.
Yeah, it is a troubling pattern of violence. I mean, we've seen it from that subway in Charlotte to this, to the NFL shooting, the list goes on. I want to ask you, Bernard, as we look at this does appear to be a college-age individual, as has been widely reported. If he did have an escape plan, if he did get on that highway, he has to have resources. He has to have cash. He has to have an awareness of the cameras around him. There is a risk to trying to flee the scene. There's also a risk staying at the scene. Do you believe that he's in the area, in the vicinity, or has escaped, as is the fear of so many?
Well, I'm going to go back to the fact that I think he'll be captured soon. And there's only three outcomes here. One, he commits suicide. Two, he's killed in an engagement with law enforcement, or he's captured alive, all of which those possibilities could happen very quickly. There's only one really modern fugitive that has escaped justice, and that was Eric Rudolph, the Olympic Park bomber. But he had the entire mountains of the Southeast that he was incredibly familiar with. He had support. It took years for him to finally just sort of walk out of the woods and reveal himself. But this is not the case. This is a young person, and he's not going to have the support network or the knowledge or maybe even the veracity to avoid capture for very long.
Tim, again, we pulled back up this live image of Charlie Kirk supporters there to greet his coffin. Such a tragic scene as we look at that, and we await for Charlie Kirk's coffin to deplane Air Force Two and come home to Phoenix, Arizona. But as we look at that, Tim, one question I have about the shooter, there's been much made of how, detailed this shot was, how hard of a shot this was, how much planning he must have had. But there does seem to be some amateurish moves, throwing away a weapon in the forest that will be found, walking in front of surveillance cameras. It's pretty well known most people have Ring cameras these days. Is he a sophisticated assassin, or is this someone who has made mistakes that will lead us to him?
Well, I think he has made mistakes. There's no question. Let me be clear. A 30-06 rifle with a little bit of training is effective 3 times farther than he took the shot to kill Charlie Kirk. So he is not necessarily a skilled weapons person, although he delivered 1 shot, 1 fatal view. But to the point of he may not have other support, I'm not sure I buy that. When you look at the response on social media to Charlie Kirk's death, assassination, it's shocking. And so I think he could have a network out there. If he does, then it's going to be more difficult finding him. But I'll tell you, like in the Secret Service, I'm very nervous about those that are like-minded.
Yeah.
Being out
as
there.
we look at that shot, I just want to point out, it appeared as if the casket of Charlie Kirk has left that place where Air Force Two landed. Just take a look at that. Those American flags He changed the course of the country with the work that he did. Gen Z young men shifting by 44 points over 2 years. He left a political legacy. He left a spiritual legacy. And we are going to continue to monitor the movements of an American legend tonight. You just saw an American legend pass to go on its journey to his final resting place, Charlie Kirk. Fox News correspondent Matt Finn is on the ground in Provo with the latest. Matt, what can you tell us?
Kaylee, a short while ago, a large envoy arrived to this campus. We're trying to confirm exactly who is here right now, but our understanding is that they are standing right at the scene, the crime scene where Charlie Kirk was assassinated here on campus. That white tent that Charlie was inside of is still standing, and that is where that envoy is right now. We're working to confirm that for you. Now, earlier today, law enforcement said there was going to be some type of press conference, but then it was suddenly canceled because of some type of urgent developments in this case. But, 6 hours later, we have not received any major updates in this case. Earlier today, law enforcement said that they were going to use technology to try to identify the person of interest. But since then, they have released several new photos asking the public for help and also offering a $100,000 reward for information. Now, police say the suspect appears to be college aged and blended in on the campus here. The new photos just released within the past 30 minutes or so once again show this person of interest in a long, dark, black looking t-shirt, which lines up with eyewitness accounts and video and even dispatch audio, which describe the suspect as wearing dark clothing and on a roof. Now, video or pictures that we have seen so far, it doesn't seem like the person of interest was wearing gloves. So we're told that could help investigators pick up some fingerprints or some DNA. Law enforcement also announced today that it recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle in a wooded area that they believe the shooter fled. Now, here on the ground at Utah Valley University, that white tent where Kirk was shot, it remains up. There is an envoy kind of circling it right now, and we may get a better glimpse at who arrived here. Earlier today, the word was that FBI Director Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were supposed to arrive here in Utah, and we just want to independently confirm that they are here on the ground right now. We'll keep you updated, Kaylee.
And Matt, any word on a press conference this evening?
Yeah, it's kind of muddled. Earlier today, officials here in Utah announced that there was supposed to be an afternoon press conference, and then it was abruptly canceled, citing these urgent developments in the case. But we have not gotten any developments. There was word of a possible press conference this evening, but that has not happened. So there is something going on behind the scenes here, and we're trying to figure.
So there you have it. I'm hoping that we have some news by this evening, at least where they know what this guy looks like. He wore a stupid pattern t-shirt. So as you heard in that post, every camera he goes by, if he hadn't changed his clothes already, he will be spotted. The fact that he was on foot almost tells me, that he wasn't driving somewhere and he's walking through a neighborhood. I don't know if he parked somewhere else, but to dump the weapon like he did in a wooded area, back through that way where he walked, they now have his palm print on the weapon. All right. They have different photos and videos of where he was walking through the school. Sure, there's going to be a bunch of different DNA there and a bunch of different stuff. But if they're able to get anything off the areas on the camera where they see him touching stuff, because he also wasn't wearing gloves, then we should have a better idea on who this guy is. I think the FBI will probably, make this priority one to catch this guy. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think we get this thing resolved today in terms of catching Charlie Kirk's killer? I'd love to know what you guys think. And as always, stay petty, my friends.